Richard Hensel. You probably recognize Richard as one of the original DJ voices you heard over and over and over and over and over again in Groundhog Day. Welcome campers to this, the inaugural Harold Ramis Day here in Chicago with a special celebration for the film Groundhog Day, for which Harold co-wrote the script, directed, and acted in, playing the neurologist. He even co-wrote the opening song, Weatherman. I'm David Pasquazi. I was in the film just a little bit more than you. I also got to know Harold working on other stuff with him. On stage with me here today are many of the actors you remember from Groundhog Day. And today is the first time we've officially reunited since the film premiered in 1993. I can't think of a better occasion to get together than this Harold Ramis Day. Harold, this was a great film, but we're here for Harold. Harold was a writer, actor, producer, and director. He was and still is a comedy legend. It's hard to believe that a decade has gone by since he died in 2014. A native of the city, Harold loved Chicago. One of his first jobs was writing for the Chicago Daily News, and then was hired as Playboy magazine's joke editor. Harold got his comedy chops training at the renowned Second City Theater with this fella. He excelled in improvisation and went on to be a main stage performer, later sharing the stage with John Belushi and this fella, eventually writing and starring on SCTV, the Emmy-winning sketch show. Harold's first screenplay, Animal House, was one of the highest-grossing comedies of all time, followed by a collaboration with this fella, Brian Doyle Murray, on the script for Caddyshack, which would be one of the first of 11 films that Harold directed. He and Brian even created a role for Brian's little brother, Bill. After his success in Hollywood with movies like Stripes, Ghostbusters, and Groundhog Day, Harold relocated his production offices and his family back to Chicago while still creating his films and directing television shows like The Office. Always work from the top of your intelligence was one of the Second City mantras Harold lived by. Today, we are here to honor Harold from the top of his intelligence, gave us so much laughter, joy, and so many quotable lines like, "Don't cross the streams," "Be the ball," "Never hit anyone in anger unless you're absolutely sure you can get away with it," and 0.0. Also today with us is Harold's wife, Erica Mann Ramis. We'll just do that.
Hi. It's really great to see everybody. Oh my God. And I would like to thank all of you and all the actors who came today, because it just makes Harold live on and on and on. And I would like to also thank Grant DePorter and his team here at Harry Carey's, and Marilyn Gardner and her team at Navy Pier and the Sable Hotel, and also Senator Durbin and the aldermen that came. It's really made this a very, very special day. I have a surprise letter that came at the last minute from President Obama, and I'd like to read it. To everyone gathered to celebrate Harold Ramis and Groundhog Day. As a Chicagoan and a fan of great movies, I'm so glad that this is how you've chosen to spend Harold Ramis Day. Harold's movies make us laugh, but they also do more than that. They encourage us to root for the underdog, to identify with the outsider, and to remember that we are always capable of changing for the better. So enjoy the festivities. That's what Harold would have wanted. And who knows, maybe you'll wake up tomorrow and get to do it all over again. And one more thing to say. I met the drummer from the movie Inside Rio, and he told me some memories about Harold, and one thing he said was he was a Scrabble master. And Harold would have loved to have heard that today. So thank you, Rio.
Thank you, Erica. That was lovely. And how about that? That was the President of the United States of America. Next, I would like to welcome Senator Dick Durbin to share a few words about Harold.
Oh, come on, he's a local. Come on.
It's an honor to be here, and the reason I'm here is not just because I'm a great fan of Harold Ramis and all of his work, but because of a little coincidence. We politicians can tell you that the newspapers often publish our birthdays and ages, and I noticed every time my birthday showed up, there was a fellow right next to me named Harold Ramis. And I eventually figured it out. We were born on exactly the same day. So I used that as an excuse to meet him here at Navy Pier for the first time, and I said, we ought to get together for dinner, thinking it would never happen. But it did happen. Erica and Loretta, Harold and I went out to dinner several times and enjoyed the friendship. He was a wonderful guy, a funny guy. He told me a lot of stories about Bill Murray. I'm sure some of them are true. And he told me about his directorial debut, Erica, in Caddyshack, when he stood out there and decided he was going to pick the setting for the camera. And whoever was advising him said, then we're going to have to chop down that bush and move that car. He said, where do you suggest? Over here. He said, that's exactly where we're going. He said he had to learn it on the job. He was a great fun and a great inspiration to all of us with a genuine sense of humor and caring. I'm sorry the speech isn't a little better. It'll get better tomorrow, and it'll get even better the day after. It's great to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I was up there for a little while, and I remember it was such. Everybody talks about how funny and smart Harold was, but I'm here to tell you, he was also very kind, and that was the thing that I remember going up there. I'm in one scene, but he brought me around and introduced me to everybody as though I was. He made me feel like a part of it, and that was whenever I worked with him, it always felt like that. He made you feel like you were an integral part of whatever you were doing. And we're going to hear from other folks about their experiences with Harold, and right now. Nancy Taylor from the film, Marita Garrity.
Hi, I'm so happy that I was invited to be here to celebrate Harold. I worked with a lot of nice people, but I never worked with anyone like Harold. He was so warm, he was so welcoming, he was calm even though he was creative. There was just nobody like him. And working with him, acting in the movie was wonderful. He was a wonderful director. The set had a wonderful vibe. But I wanted to tell you about a story that I remember more than the acting, which is one day at lunchtime, Harold was playing his guitar. So no stress, he's calm enough to be playing his guitar. And he shared with me that he was practicing a song that he was going to surprise his wife with. I think their anniversary was coming up, yes. And we talked about her on multiple occasions, and I've never had a director who was busy leading a movie share so much about someone in his family that he loved. So he ruled the game. He was a writer, director, actor extraordinaire, and he kept his family and those he loved in his heart and gave them equal weight, and that's what I remember most about him. So Erica, he was wonderful.
Robin Duke, Doris the waitress. Ladies and gentlemen, Robin Duke.
More coffee, hun? What a great line to have. I just have to say that, working with Harold every time was a gift. And I still feel like I'm receiving gifts from Harold. Being here today, the lovely hotel room that I'm in. I always feel like he's around and in my life, and it was such a joy to know him and to laugh so much with everything I did with Harold. There was always laughter around. I particularly remember being in the van with Brian and Chris Elliott and just laughing on the way to set and on the way home. And during my performances in front of the camera. So, and Harold was always there, but you never really knew he was there. He was just so calm. Like, who's directing this movie? You know, he was the best, and I'm just so happy to have been a part of his life. And thank you. All right, more coffee hunt.
Thanks very much, Robin. And Kenny Campbell, Kenneth Hudson Campbell, you may remember him as Man in the Hallway, but in reality he's so much more.
Morning! Off to see the Groundhog? Think it's gonna be an early spring? I think it is. You know, Hollywood's great because you get to work sometimes with your heroes. And a couple people right here who are my heroes. And Harold was certainly one of my heroes. And a chance to work with him was unbelievable, one I couldn't pass up. He changed my name. In the script, it was Chubby Man. And I said, Harold, it's going to be Chubby Man on my resume for the rest of my life. Could you please change it? And he changed it to Man in Hall, which I think I could do now. I think I can be Man in Hall now. But he changed it for me, and I really appreciate that. And if you happen to see the musical, Groundhog Day, the musical, which I know Bill was there.
It's beautiful.
It was fantastic from what I hear, and I know he was a big fan. But he was credited as Chubby Man in the musical. I just want to point that out. But
Well, they had trouble casting a Man in the Hall.
it's true. It's true. But Harold was just, like everybody's saying, he was wonderful, and I was happy to be there. I was happy to get the chance, and well, just thanks to him, and thank you very much, and everybody who's here today.
Great. Yeah. There was a lapse. Pam Casper, true force of nature, needs to be thanked and recognized. Thanks for everything. A very big part of all we're doing today. And now, hey, Peggy Roeder, our piano teacher.
The most fun I ever had on a set was with Harold Ramis doing this movie because of his kindness, the fact that there was no stress. He just kept telling me to do it bigger and bigger and bigger, which is not usually what you hear in a movie. It's always smaller, smaller, smaller. And he loved anything comic, and he kept encouraging that, I think, in all of us. And so it was great fun, and I'm forever grateful to him.
And now it's time for a ceremony, right? Yeah, I think it's time. To Brian, do you have something to say?
Oh yeah, let me go before Brian.
Okay, then Bill. I'm sorry.
Brian's got a chair. You know, we've heard a lot about Harold. Let's talk about the weather, okay? It appears that we're going to have a very early spring. Let's hear it for that kind of weather. And I'm reminded that when we made Groundhog Day, we lived in Woodstock, and it was, hey, can you give me a ride home after? It was the longest winter of our lives. It was the longest winter ever. It would not end, which was great for the movie because even in April, we were getting huge, like 8 inches of snow. And they go like, wow, we can reshoot that scene. So we stayed out there in the cold. It was freezing. It was a very, very long, and it's colder in Woodstock than it is in Chicago, believe it or not, because it's slightly higher. Anyway, that was all I had to say about the weather. But I think it's great that we're here, and I think it's nice to have you know, I don't want to be too Irish, but it's very nice of Harold to make us a nice mild day for today. You know, he's up there stirring the clouds around and making that low pressure move out going to Indiana and just drench and ruin those people's lives over there in Indiana. But it's warm here and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful city, and I got to know Harold through my brother Brian. They took care of me and let me hide out in Old Town when I was just a troublemaker from the North Shore. So they took care of me, and I learned a lot from those guys, from Brian and Joe Flaherty and Harold Ramis, and Eugenie Ross Lemming. Those people were wonderful to me, very kind. And it's the kindness of those people that really made it possible for me to avoid the penitentiary and to have some sort of a life, as my brother used to say, how do you justify your existence? So I'm able to keep a job. I'm a union man. Come on, I'm a union guy. I'm a union guy and I love it. It's great to be here in the greatest city in the United States of America. And it's great. We should recognize Danny Rubin, who conceived the screenplay and really was a guy who doesn't get enough credit because he lives in the boondocks, you know, if he lived in a big city, but he's a shy fella, but a very talented one. He made it all possible. He gave us all a script that we could all the actors did better than the script, didn't we? They all did better, and that was Harold and Danny who made it possible to be better than the movie, than the script. That's your job as an actor, is to take the work, take what you're given and make it better, and we all got to do that. Harold made it possible. But the guy who made it possible for me the most is sitting next to me. He's the mayor of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania in the film, and he's one of the greatest people I've ever known in my life. He's my brother, Brian Doyleburn.
Well, thank you, Bill. I'm very happy to be here with all of you folks and all these wonderful actors and Erica. And my friendship with Harold goes way beyond Groundhog Day. We started in the Second City in the workshop in 1968 and then worked on radio, stage, TV, movies. And I learned a lot from him. He was the smartest guy I knew, the very talented guy, and just the sweetest man you'd ever know. And the most important thing I ever got from him, he gave me the opportunity, working on Groundhog Day, to work with my wife, who is a veterinarian now, but before she was a veterinarian, she was an assistant director in the film business, and before that, she was a production assistant, most notably on Groundhog Day. So thank you, Harold, for giving me the opportunity to meet my life partner. I love you.
Last, but certainly not least, please welcome, fuck. Oh yes, we have a few more, oh wait a minute, thanks, what? Yeah. We have the drummer from the Groundhog Day party, Don Rio McNichols. There he is. And our cameraman, Ari Golan, who, right there, he was the cameraman in the movie. And we even have some Ghostbusters here, came ready to answer their call. And the Ectomobile, wonderful. There are a few more cast members who were unable to be here in person but wanted to share a few words about Harold on this special day, and so we'll watch them. Listen.
Hi folks, I'm Chris Elliott. I played Larry the cameraman in Groundhog Day, and I'm sorry I'm not there to reminisce with you about Harold and about this incredible movie, which I'm so proud to have been part of, and really proud to hear that the Library of Congress is preserving it. That is incredible. I'm actually in another movie that's in the Library of Congress called Cabin Boy, and on its 30th anniversary, they're planning to burn the negative ceremony. So hopefully we'll see you all there too. I remember shooting Groundhog Day. I remember laughing in the van with Robin Duke on our way to the set. I remember eating a lot of baby back ribs and drinking a shitload of Remy Martin with Brian Doyle Murray. Apparently the Murrays like alcohol. But even with friends like that, I was a little intimidated on the set, and Harold knew that about me. And every morning I would show up and he would give me a huge bear hug that always made me feel welcomed and made me feel wanted. And I've never forgotten that. It didn't stop him from giving me notes on my performance, which, you know, were usually things like, bring it down a little bit, Chris. It's going to be on a big screen. Bring it down just a little bit. But he was protecting me. I remember when we had wrapped Groundhog Day, we were all in San Francisco doing the press junket, and I herniated a disc in my back. And when all was said and done and I was ready to fly home, Harold arranged for a bodyguard who looked a lot like, or was, Dolph Lundgren, to come to the hospital and take me to the airport and literally carry me onto the plane. And that was Harold, always thinking about other people. And, you know, his talent aside, to me, his legacy is his kindness. And in fact, when I think about Harold and his kindness, I think what a piece of shit I am. So I don't think about him that often. But Harold, thank you for the memories. I love you, I miss you, God bless you. Happy Groundhog Day. And I'm gonna have a drink because all this talk about Remy Martin's triggered me.
Hello, this is Stephen Tobolowsky speaking to you from Dallas, Texas. I was waylaid by a family emergency. Wish I could be with you in Chicago, but I still would like to share 3 memories, thoughts of Harold Ramis if I could. 1, my audition. My audition was terrifying because I read with Harold Ramis himself. An actor never reads with the director. It's terrifying. Anyway, I later found out, after having dinner with Danny Rubin, the screenwriter of the movie, he said that after I auditioned, Harold called him and said, "We found our Ned Ryerson. He's the most obnoxious person I've ever met in my life." So, number 2. Harold Ramis explained something to me about comedy that I have used ever since the movie, and I want to share this. We started that first day, that first week, shooting the street scene, Bill and I was doing all the, and I was afraid I was coming across too big. I was a little self-conscious, and I mentioned it to Harold in between shots. And Harold laughed and he said, "Stephen, you don't get it. You're the schlemiel, and Bill is the schlemazel." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "It's the formula for comedy that goes back to the Greeks, but it's the essence of Jewish comedy. That to have comedy, you only have to have 2 forces in the world. You have to have the schlemiel, he's the guy who spills soup, and the schlemazel, he's the guy who gets soup spilled on him. Those 2. In this scene, you are the schlemiel. So you could spill soup all you want, do whatever you want, but Bill is the schlemazel. He has to be the world." The next thing I want to bring up. Why is this movie an evergreen? Why does it exist forever? Well, it's easy. It's a great movie. It's a great story. It has the touch of science fiction. It has the touch of redemption. But I think the story is great because it is a story about true love. And that is because Harold Ramis was a true believer. And you feel it in every frame. He believes in love, and he's offered it to us as a gift. And we share it year after year after year on this date. I now drink the toast to a great man, a great comic, a great director, a great mind, a great heart. The man who knew that true love is forever. Harold Ramis, my hero.
Wonderful. let us also raise a glass to Rita's favorite drink in Groundhog Day, which was inspired by Erica Man Ramus's favorite drink, sweet vermouth on the rocks with a twist. Let's raise our glasses and toast to the life and career of Harold Ramis and to the Groundhog and, of course, to world peace. And now, it's Groundhog time. Okay, sure.
Once a year, the eyes of the nation tune in to watch a master at work. The master, Chicago Harry, the world's most famous weatherman, the Groundhog, who legend has it can predict the coming of an early spring. So I guess the question we have to ask ourselves today is, does Harry feel lucky? Here to translate what Chicago Harry has to say, we have Buster Green, the president of the Groundhog Society. Take it away, Buster. They bite.
This February 2nd, Chicago Harry, the herald of heralds, the seer of seers, the prognosticator of prognosticators, emerged reluctantly in Chicago, Illinois, and stated in Groundhogese, I definitely see a shadow. Sorry, folks, 6 more weeks to winter.
All right, well, who doesn't love winter? And now to take our minds off Harry's chilling prediction and make it officially Harold Ramis Day, please welcome Alderman Brendan Riley.
We're going to make it official. A resolution presented to the City Council of the City of Chicago, Illinois, resolution celebrating Harold Ramis Day. Whereas Harold Allen Ramis, comedy legend and native Chicagoan, passed away on February 24th, 2014. And whereas in honor of the 10th anniversary of his passing, the cast of Groundhog Day will join Erica Man Ramis, Harold's wife, for their first reunion since the film's release, fittingly on February 2nd, 2024. And whereas the Chicago City Council has been informed of this milestone by the Honorable Brendan Riley, Alderman of the 42nd Ward. And whereas growing up in Rogers Park, Harold graduated from Senn High School and Washington University in St. Louis before returning to Chicago and working as a freelance writer for the Chicago Daily News, as a writer and editor for Playboy, and as a substitute teacher at schools serving Robert Taylor homes. And whereas, moving from the radio waves and the small screen to the silver screen, Harold embarked on a prolific film career, writing, directing, and acting, sometimes all three, in classics such as Groundhog Day, National Lampoon's Animal House, Caddyshack, Stripes, Ghostbusters, National Lampoon's Vacation, Analyze This, and of course, Groundhog Day. And whereas, while many of his films remain comedy classics, Groundhog Day in particular would go on to receive widespread popular and critical acclaim, winning the BAFTA Film Award for Best Original Screenplay and being named to the Writers Guild of America's 101 Greatest Screenplays and the American Film Institute's 100 Funniest Movies. And whereas, in addition to winning the BAFTA for Groundhog Day, Harold's contributions to comedy have been recognized by the Writers Guild of America, Chicago Film Critics Association, the Critics Circle, the New York Film Critics Circle, the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television, the World Science Fiction Society, and the Academy of Interactive Arts and Science, as well as being awarded honorary doctorates in the arts from Columbia College and Washington University. And whereas, at the height of his success, Harold left Hollywood and returned to the Chicagoland area to raise his family, and gave back to his hometown by serving on the boards of the Goodman Theater, After School Matters, Facets Multimedia, and the Institute for Psychoanalysis. And whereas, after a life of playing to the top of his intelligence, Harold Ramis's talent and vision will continue to inspire generations of comedians and writers to find their own voice. As Harold once said, "My characters aren't losers, they're rebels. They win by their refusal to play by anyone else's rules." Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the mayor, and members of the City Council of the City of Chicago, hereby declare the second day of February 2024, Groundhog Day, now forevermore in perpetuity, over and over again, to be Harold Ramis Day. And be it further resolved that a suitable copy of this resolution be prepared and presented to the Harold Ramis family, and as a sign of our honor and respect, signed Mayor Brandon Johnston and Alderman Brendan Riley.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How about, that's quite a wonderful thing. Good for the city to recognize the genius of Harold. Thank you. Happy official Harold Ramis Day. And thank you to everyone who joined us today for this special Groundhog Day ceremony and helping us celebrate Harold Ramis Day. Shout out to the many fans that came to embrace Harold by wearing costumes from his other movies. Thank you to Navy Pier for embracing this event. If you walk about the pier, you will see Groundhog's face in the center of the Ferris wheel, hear the soundtrack playing throughout the speaker system, and see the film being played on the big screen by the Crystal Gardens. If at the bar at Harry Carey's is full, be sure to check out some of the other restaurants on the pier who have joined in on the festivities. Reunion, Margaritaville, and Lyrica are all offering Groundhog Day themed food and beverage specials, and the Sable Hotel is transformed into the Pennsylvanian Hotel for the day in honor of the film. Thank you to the Navy Pier team for all your help, and a very special thank you to Chicago Harry for joining us today. He'll be available until 6:30 p.m. for media hits, fan interactions, and photo ops. It's been a pleasure to revisit the world of Groundhog Day with you all today. I'm not sure if you noticed, but that Ice Angel sculpture is an exact replica of the one that Bill made in the movie, and we even have a snowman. Thank you all again, and may you please turn your attention to stage left, where Max from Nado Ice is live carving a special Groundhog Day ice sculpture as we speak. Thanks again to everyone, and see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock.